A very common question that I get asked is, does it take too much time for BNI? And another way we could look at this is, how much time does it take for BNI? And so I kind of want to explore both of those questions, answer those, and maybe even have a little bit more conversation around, okay, how do I plan my time appropriately for BNI, as well as what are some time saving tips? Because yes, it is definitely about how do we have more time, money, and fun? And BNI is an amazing way to do that. Now, as you're watching this, if you're watching this live, not after the fact, either on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, please feel free to have questions, comments, chats, whatever it may be. Put that into the comments wherever you're watching this so that we can answer it, have that conversation. Though, do know if you haven't paired with Restream before, it might not know who you are. So please include your name in the conversation in the comment. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this idea of, does BNI take too much time? How much time is too much time? I think that for each person, each individual, it's going to make a difference how much time it takes for them in BNI. And it very much depends. There's no right answer for how much time does it take to be successful at BNI. And so if you're thinking, okay, Tiffanie, how much time do I need to spend? I might start by thinking, how much of my revenue do I want to earn from BNI? Because if my goal is to earn 50% of my new clientele from BNI, then I need to take a look at all of my marketing time and my sales time. How much time am I spending on a weekly basis? And if I want half of my revenue from BNI, guess how much time we want to spend on our marketing and sales activities? And that's going to be half. If my goal is I want 100% of my business from BNI, I typically recommend at least a little diversification there. But let's say you're brand new, BNI is your first networking. How much time do I spend? Then that's going to be where you spend your marketing time. If BNI is to make up 10% of your revenue, then we're probably spending 10% of our marketing time on the organization. And so I think oftentimes members aren't really taking into account or taking into fact, this is directly 100% my marketing. Now, sometimes people are like, oh, marketing and BNI aren't the same thing. Are they? And to me, yes. My membership in BNI goes under my marketing expenses. My membership in the chamber, my membership in the women's organization, all of that to me is under marketing expenses. And the activities that I do, those are the time that I'm investing in my marketing. Now, one thing that I think is very powerful is making the most out of everything that we have in our BNI membership. And I think that one thing we have each week is that meeting. I'm looking for my notepad. And some chapters I visit don't have a what to listen for sheet. Now, the chapters that do have a what to listen for sheet typically is like the name of the profession, maybe some of their details, and a nice chunk of space where we can take notes. If your chapter doesn't have it, that's okay. A notepad is the old-fashioned way of doing it, and it still works. And so as I'm at my BNI meeting, I am taking copious notes during the weekly presentation portion of the meeting because I want to have it easy for me to generate referrals. And so if I know what people are looking for, then I can take time to generate those referrals. Now, back in the day, what I would do in my calendar is schedule till 10 o'clock every week, my BNI meeting. Now, yeah, the meeting's done at 9. And even if I was on leadership, usually I'm done by 9:20, 9:30 and out the door. So why would I schedule it till 10? Because then I have that extra time where I can really focus on generating some referrals, whether it's let me get back to the office and make some phone calls, if it's doing it from the car. Nowadays we're on Zoom, so it's a little bit different. I'm not trying to travel somewhere, but you could still schedule that. Or have your BNI Power Hour. This is your time frame where, hey, I'm going to generate referrals. And I want to make sure that we have time to generate referrals, because most people will do referral marketing, sit back, wait, I hope I get some referrals. However, I like to be proactive. So I've got, okay, this is an older video. It's not the greatest quality of like the visual, it's not high def or anything, because again, I think it's like a 5 or 10-year-old video. But if you go to YouTube, I have a 4-minute video that will walk you through your profitability goals. And so essentially, and there's a link to the spreadsheet in the description, we're going to walk through, based on the revenue that you want to make from BNI, how many referrals do you need to give in order for you to gain the percentage that you're looking for. And so it makes it super simple and easy. It puts the power into your hand. So if my number of referrals to generate for my chapter on a weekly basis is 4, my week's not done till all of those referrals have been generated. This is me working on my business to create the results that I'm looking for. So that's one way that we can use it. What is your giving plan? Once you figure out your number, do me a favor, let me know how many referrals you need to give each week to help you hit your goal. Now, I want to flip the conversation around and talk a little bit about one-to-ones, because I think we can spend a lot of time on one-to-ones, and it can be wasted time if you're doing it wrong. So I'm going to tell you what every one-to-one should have in just a minute. But before I get to that, I highly encourage, especially if you're doing the one-to-ones in person, to do block one-to-ones or stack one-to-ones. This is essentially where I get together, I have a one-to-one at 9, and then I've got another one scheduled at 10, at 11. And so I'm in one location, whether it's my favorite local restaurant or coffee shop that's in the chapter, perhaps it's at the park, whatever it may be, I've got my one-to-one scheduled, and then I don't have to move back and forth, back and forth. And if these are people outside of the chapter, I could use the time when the person comes in and the person's leaving to create an introduction. Say, hey, Susie, let me introduce you to Tommy for a moment real quick while I run to grab something out of my car or run to the ladies' room. Chat amongst yourselves so you're able to create that introduction. Now, I mentioned what's the one thing that every one-to-one should have. And I think that's an action plan. I think that if every single one-to-one we had written down what are 2, 3, 4 things that we're going to do on each other's behalf, then these one-to-ones, instead of being a waste of time, they're a massive investment of your time. Now, it's not always going to be the same. If it's my first time meeting you as a brand new chapter member, or brand new to me. I mean, I've been around for a while, celebrating 18 years in BNI this year, 20, I'm gonna have to do something like wild and crazy, I'm sure. But so I've been around, but just because you're, not new to BNI, you may be new to me. So if it's my first one-to-one with you, I'm typically gonna try and do some easy and basic things, but I wanna make sure I'm giving to you and vice versa. And I will usually ask, oh, it's great meeting with you, BNI member person. What can I do to help you? And sometimes they'll respond with, get me a referral. Sometimes they'll respond with, I'll let you know. I always like to have in my mind a backup list of things that I could offer. So if I'm meeting with somebody, it's my very first one-to-one, I might offer to, hey, yeah, let me go to your social media, connect. Follow your business pages, like your business pages, subscribe to your YouTube channel. It could be that in our first conversation, we talk about networking, and let me invite you to come networking with me. And so I could invite them to things. I can utilize them on social media. Maybe I'm making some introductions to professions that they're looking for. Now, that's our first one-to-one. As we move to our second or our third one-to-one, perhaps we want to look at, hey, assuming trust is there, when can I introduce you to these amazing prospects that could be referrals for you? Perhaps can I book you a speaking engagement, or let's go live. That's one of the things I love to do with people is let's go live. And so we're coming up again with that game plan. And then when I move to profitability, so 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 10th one-to-one, year after year after year, what are we going to do in those one-to-ones? And there's 2 podcasts that I think are powerful that we can use. The first is podcast 683 by Tim Roberts and Dr. Meisner that talks about one tool for hundreds of referrals. And I think this is such a simple way to do with what you have your calendar. Now, a little bit more of an intensive process. So maybe this is 10 plus. If you go to podcast 562, how to get referrals. I really wanted the name of the podcast to be how to get bukus of referrals. but I wasn't sure how to spell that. And I wasn't sure that most people would know. That's a massive amount. And so it walks you through a process from Ascentive called Rise Square, where you're going to be able to build the relationship, identify your referrals, strategize, go out and execute, and then a little follow-up evaluate for that second E. And as you go through that, you open the floodgates for referrals. And I think those podcasts are so powerful. They're here on the screen. You can check them out. I do also mention podcast 534. I'm too busy for BNI. That gives you a few time-saving tips. Some we've talked about here, some that are brand new. So we're here talking about, does BNI take too much time? When I first got into BNI, I was spending 80% of my work week cold calling. I had a promotional products company. I would go knock on doors. You want to buy some shirts? You want to buy some pens? And I'm really good at it. And I detested doing it because it was just like, ugh. And I found BNI was so much better. And so I found that my time involved in BNI was worth every cent and every minute that I put in because the results were so phenomenal. And I was able to quit cold calling within a year of joining BNI. Not that I'm promising that'll work for you, but that is what worked for me. I was able to quit cold calling as we were growing, as we were taking advantage of the content that we had for education in BNI and Ascentive. Within 2 years, I was able to get my husband to quit his job and come work with me. We were making more money and finally living that dream that I envisioned when I started my business. BNI really helped make it for me. Now, here's the thing. BNI is not for everybody. Perhaps the chamber is a better thing for you. Rotary is a better thing for you. Though we do recommend at Ascentive that you have 3 different types of networking organizations that you're a part of. I think that it varies. One of my favorite analogies I like to use is, what do you like to drink? I'm a big beer drinker, but I don't like Guinness because I'm not into coffee. And so I'm not going to have any porters and stouts usually. And so while Guinness isn't my beer, it does work for many people. Or I don't drink coffee, as I mentioned. So coffee, not at all. Now, tea, I lost my teacup. I'm almost always drinking my tea, but I know that's not for everybody. So here's the thing. When it comes to networking organizations, just because one isn't right for you, that just may not be your flavor. And even within BNI chapters, they each have their own culture. So maybe if you're checking this out and you're like, I went to that one meeting, it wasn't for me, go check out another chapter. I think of it kind of almost as ice cream, if we're in food and beverage here, I guess. Each chapter has its own flavor. Some are a little bit more business focused. Some I just saw today, they did something with sock puppets, and I was like, oh, that's brilliant. I want to know more. And so there's so much going on. Now, if you just show up and you don't do anything, then BNI is not worth your time, energy, effort, or money because you got to put the work in. But when you do, the results can be phenomenal. Do me a favor, as you're watching this, in the comments below, especially here on YouTube, where this will be kept forever and ever and ever, let us know your thoughts. What are some of your time-saving tips that you got for BNI? What has made a difference for you? And I look forward to seeing y'all again next week. Oh, and be sure you mark, let me throw this up here. On the 3rd Tuesday of every month, we do have the More Money, More Time, the More Abundant Entrepreneur Show, which includes a segment on more money, more time, more fun, so that we can do that in our business. I do hope to see you on an upcoming show, and we'll be back next Monday, 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time, with another guest to help you be better at BNI. Happy networking, y'all.